So we're going to do 7 altar calls today. No. Yeah. Yeah, hello, greetings. I think we're on. That was an unbelievable story. We had, for those of you online, greetings and hello. I'm not, let me find our online friends here, guys. Give me a second. And we can see who's with us. And, all right. Oh, I got to turn that down. Donna Gibson. Everybody say hi to Donna. Everybody say hi to Terinda. Terinda, are you guys there or are you driving? Everybody said hi to Elaine. And so there's about 7 people on there. Sybil is on there. Everybody say hi, Sybil. So we've got quite a crew. And so maybe the Wyants are driving. They're headed to Debbie Hopkins' service. I don't know. What's that? Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay, so they're not too far out of Little Rock. Well, Dale and Terinda, hello. Safe travels or safe resting if you're already there. I don't know. She said it was only a 6 or 7 hour drive. 8? Well, still, that doesn't seem like, I was thinking like 10, 12. That's not. What's that? 8 hours and 55 minutes. Okay, well, take your time. Ruth Leach is with us tonight, so hello, Ruth. So we've got everybody. Elaine is waving at us, so hello, Elaine, Mark. So we've got a lot of people with us tonight. Now, I started the story, and everybody online is probably like, what is he talking about? Now I have you guys intrigued. We had Fred Church and the Spirituals here Sunday. They did a nice concert. And I'm going to mess this story up. So if I get it wrong, Rick, you can correct me. They were giving an altar call. And Fred said, well, you were here too, Lanny, so if I get it wrong. Fred said that he felt the Spirit lead him to say, we need to do another altar call. And then they did another, and I guess they did 7 altar calls. And a gentleman came forward on the 7th one, accepted Christ, and then passed away right there at the altar. So could you imagine? So he's like, I'm glad we held out for 7 altar calls. That was a pretty remarkable story. So that was God telling him to keep it going. So we're going to do 7 altar calls tonight. No, we won't probably do that on Wednesday. Sunday, yeah, that you could know for sure, but that's unbelievable. Yeah, so we will have some new people coming Sunday. I got a call from somebody here in the area that'll be visiting us. She said she doesn't live that far from us, so keep our radar open for new people Sunday at 9:30. For everybody online, for everybody here, I'm assuming you're hearing about that. A lot of people asked me last Sunday when church was over. It's combined service, right? It's combined, because I think we're just used to combined service on holiday weekends. Because we have a combined service coming up on the 18th, we decided to leave this July 4th time separate. So our time will be 9:30 unless you want to come at 11, and then they'll be in Spanish, but I know that Christina comes and stays for both, actually, because she works with the kids and is trying to learn. So you're welcome to stay at 11 or come at 11, but in English we'll be here at 9:30. So in other words, long story short, same old time and schedule as usual for this Sunday, and our next combined service will be for Vacation Bible School. So if you're here online, as always, Cindy Nikoloff is saying hello. She's in Texas. So we're all, hello, Cynthia. So I think she was in Texas last weekend. Cynthia Nikoloff, she's been here. She hasn't been able to get here as much due to rides, but she's very faithful online, and we've talked online. And so I think she commented she wished she could have seen. Did they telecast it online? We probably weren't allowed to do that.
First and you put it on a flash drive.
Okay, so Cynthia, I know you were wanting to catch that. We have it on a flash drive. So if you want to see it, Cynthia, the concert from last Sunday, let me know, and we'll make sure that can get to you, because she was hoping that we'd have it online. And sometimes, for those that were wondering, sometimes the bands and different things and contracts they have, we can't always show. We can show what we do online because we're in charge of that. When other people come, we're not in charge of their content. So, without further ado, if you're online, Trenda says we're driving and they're still in Little Rock. So we're in Little Rock tonight. We're in Texas tonight. We are all over. So if you are here online, welcome to the nationwide broadcast of Sterling Baptist. This sounds something else with the internet, isn't it, these days? We got a lot of folks here. We got a lot of people online. We are in the Sermon on the Mount. I told you last week that I'm going to skip salt and light because we've been talking so much about it on Wednesday nights. Let me read that, though. We won't discuss it too much. It says, "You are the salt of the earth. If the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Are you guys still praying about how we talked a lot the last few weeks about building bridges and being salt and light in the places where you are? I know I've been trying to do that a little bit more in my neighborhood. We have a house not too far from us that an ambulance kind of came over there, and I've not met them or talked with them much, and kind of felt the Spirit leading and say, you need to go over there and check it out, but I didn't, because I didn't want to, I don't know what's going on. But the next day I passed over that house, said, okay, I at least need to stop. So I had a conversation with the gentleman. His wife had been taken to the hospital with a small stroke and dealing with just different things. And then, just saw an ambulance there again. So just being able to kind of keep. So that's just God's way of saying, hey, there's people out there. So every time he's out, I try to make sure to stop and see how everybody's doing and seeing how things, just God's way of kind of reminding me, okay, get out, build bridges. And I don't want to share online everything that he's going through, but just pray for Ed's neighbor. And he's been through a lot, has a lot of tough stories, and just kind of reminded me, he needs to know just kind of the good news. So that's part of what being the salt and light is about. We're going to talk a little bit more about this on Sunday. What was the whole point of bringing the good news to the nation of Israel? Why was Israel the chosen people? Lanny's going like this. So they are responsible. They are not blessed. From day one from Abraham, what was his vision? Abraham, I am going to bless you. Why? I'm going to give you many children. We're going to build a nation. Why? So it wasn't because Abraham's a super cool guy. It wasn't because Israel is the greatest nation in the world. And it really was, I'm going to bless you because I want you to pass that blessing and to be a blessing for others. It's not to keep it to yourself and go, woo, look at me, I'm blessed. And isn't it interesting? Jesus just talked about, here are the people that are blessed. But anybody who's blessed, the job, isn't it interesting that he goes right from the blessings to salt and light? Anybody who is blessed, what's your job? Not to stand back and go, I'm blessed, thank you very much. Any questions? I'm blessed. No, it's to be a blessing and share that blessing to others. That's the whole point. That's why we're doing it. And then so he goes from salt and light to another. I almost skipped this because it's complicated. But he starts talking about the law and the prophets. Everybody's favorite topic. As a matter of fact, when you work a lot with students and young people, a common thread goes like this. Hey, do you go to church? No. Well, why don't you go to church? Well, all they care about church is rules. And keeping the rules and following the rules. And of course, when you're a kid and teenager, right, what's the uncoolest thing to do? Be a rule follower, right? Whenever I teach in children's camp or teen camps, I always do an illustration and say, let's play a game. And I'll have some basketball hoops set up. And I'll do one-on-one with a kid, and I'll let him beat me, and sometimes I'll shoot one to impress the kids and everything. And then I'll come back and say, okay, now we're going to play the game, except here we go. There's going to be no rules. You can do whatever you want to do. So I'll let the kid make a basket, and I said, oh, well, there's no rules, so I'm going to start making up rules. There's no rule that says I can't make up a rule, so that basket doesn't count. And then the kid called, and I said, well, I'm going to make up my rule, and your basket doesn't count. Well, I'm going to make up a rule that says, you can't make up rules. And we would kind of go back and forth, and everybody would start laughing. And basically, what would happen if there is A, no rules, or B, everybody felt they could just make up their own rules? Suddenly, what happens to the game of basketball? And the kids all knew this. It's not much of a game, and I looked at them and said, what would you rather play? The game where we had rules, or the game where there's no rules? And kids kind of go, oh. Well, and so Jesus is kind of stuck. Let me give you another rule scenario that might be closer to where he was. I'm a teacher. Some of you are former teachers. Imagine if I'm a teacher, and in my classroom, you follow the rules. And anybody have a super strict teacher? I'm usually not one. Yeah, hands up, hands over. What if my rules were so strict that students were uncomfortable? Okay? And test scores started to fall because everything was just too strict. And parents start calling the principal. And, well, what's going on in the classroom? Why are they, they're following the rules. What would be the problem with that? Okay. The rules are there for a higher purpose. Right? The rules are the rules aren't there for the sake of keeping the rules. The rules are there to promote better well-being and education and safety and, to build a good learning environment. Rules aren't there because of the rules. And then I think we kind of run into the Pharisees and the law and Jesus. Right? Okay, and we kind of have the two ends of the spectrum, okay? There are some people that say, well, let's not have any rules, let's do what we want, and that can be the chaos. And there's some people that we just live by every letter, every dot of the rule, and it's so strict that it chokes us out. Gee, which end of the spectrum did the Pharisees fall on? Right, they were on the why. They had better control of things that way. Why was it important that you got to keep the rule?
There was no other way for salvation either.
Okay. You have to keep the rules to find salvation. Okay. You have to kind of put yourself in the mindset of a Pharisaical Jew in the time of Jesus and what they believed. Okay? Their definition of salvation was not being saved from their sin. What was it? Being saved from sickness, poverty. You're missing one, the biggest one, that shows wealth. Actually, the Pharisees had a lot of wealth. What didn't they have? What didn't the nation of Israel have? Freedom, control. What was the problem? There we go. We're an occupied country. We're ruled by somebody other than ourselves. We're ruled by the Romans. So salvation to them meant we're back. God is blessing us. The nation of Israel is reestablished, right? King is not King David, but the ways of King David is back. And why isn't it that way? What happened? We had King David. We were on top of the world. God was blessing us. It was rich. It was powerful. It was wonderful. Why did it mess up? According to a Pharisee. And they wouldn't be far from wrong. It was because we messed up and people sinned. So here's the deal, everybody. Right? If we want God to bring us back, we have to what? Thank you. We have to follow the rules. And especially follow the rules on what day? The Sabbath. Why? Because the Ten Commandments said, remember the Sabbath, keep it holy. Why do you keep the Sabbath holy in the mindset of a Pharisaical Jew in Jesus' century? Here's what they believed. As you do some kind of research in the Jewish thought of that time, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's what they thought. God is working in a rhythm. And the rhythm is established in the day. I'm speaking in terms of the early Jews. The rhythm is established in Genesis. 6 days of work, and the seventh day God rests. 6 days of work, that's the rhythm. And that Sabbath is we are resting, God is resting. See, God is working, and on the Sabbath day, that's when He's really paying attention to us. When I describe it to school, your principal is always working in your school, but every once in a while, the principal steps into your classroom. That's when he's really paying attention to you. So yes, we should follow the rules because the principal's always working and you don't want to get in trouble. But you really better be following the rules, right, when the principal's in our classroom. Because he's paying attention to us now more than he ever has. That was the Sabbath to the Pharisaical Jew. God is paying attention to us on the Sabbath more than ever before. So, if somebody's arm breaks, don't heal it because God's watching. We should just be praising and offering worship. And we don't want to be doing anything that would look like anything. Just fix that broken bone on Monday. Or, Sunday, because their Sabbath law would be Saturday, correct? Am I right on that? So fix it on Sunday. Yeah, we'll do it, we're used to Sunday. And then, so that was the deal. We've got to follow the rules, especially on the Sabbath day, because that's when he's in our classroom. And then when he sees what good little students we are, that we keep the rules, that we follow the rules, what is he going to do? Let's be more specific. Let's be more specific. No, that's not what they thought. Eternal life to them meant what? We've got to follow the rules. We've got to be good. We've got to be good, especially on Sabbath, so God will bless us. How? Not to get us into heaven. They didn't think that. I'm sorry.
Give us good things.
What good things?
Give us back our autonomy and health and our self.
We're missing it. There it is. We want to be back. We want to be Israel. We want to wave the flags. We want to be free. We want to be saved. And God is not going to send that Messiah to save us until we follow the rules. Right? Especially on the Sabbath. So, don't mess it up for the rest of us. Did you ever have a teacher say, and they say we're really not supposed to do stuff like this anymore? You'll get extra time for lunch, but everybody in class has to be good. And everybody's being good, but that one kid, right? And he blew it, and then you missed the extra lunch hour, and everybody looks at that kid. What did you do, right? So don't be the outsider. Don't be the person that's sick. Don't be the person that's crippled. Don't be the person that's not blessed because you're a sinner and you've done so. Could you imagine being sick, lame, or crippled in that kind of culture? When they felt that the reason why you're sick, lame, or crippled is because you're sinning. So not only are you the sinner, you're the one that what? You're the one that's holding us back. Okay? Do you know why? Now does it kind of make more sense why Jesus started? Let me tell you who blessed and who isn't. Because some people lived in a culture that said, you're not blessed, you're the one that's messing it up for everybody. Okay? So that's kind of the mess up, right? Jesus is eating with sinners. He cannot be the Messiah. He can't be. Because he's not following the rules. Well, it's the rules, right? So, Jesus is having some fun. Let me tell you who's really blessed. Let me tell you why we're blessed to go and be salt and light. It's almost like Jesus is probably anticipating what the protests in the crowd might be, right? Blessed are the poor in spirit. No, they're not. But they're the ones holding us back. You know, be salt and light. Reach the world. Reach those who... Not the sinners, though, right? Because that's not following the rules. So Jesus, he doesn't even wait for them to protest. He just kind of anticipates that that's probably out there. And already he says, verse 17 in chapter 5, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of the pen will by any means disappear to the law until everything is accomplished. Therefore, anyone who sets aside the least of these commands and teaches others according will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices in teaching these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Because I tell you, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Ouch. So hey, settle down. I'm not here to say that the law is for the birds. I'm not here to throw out the rules. I'm here to fulfill the rules. Because let's go all the way back. Yes, we need rules to keep from chaos. And by the way, when you're in the Old Testament looking through Leviticus, if you know things in world history, Mesopotamia, the Middle East, is what? One of the first worldly known earliest civilizations. So how do you get people together without chaos? You're going to need, well, the book of Leviticus, right? You're going to need rules. You're going to need structures. You're going to need law. So Jesus is like, I'm not coming here to say there's utter chaos. And I'm not coming, so that's on one end. And I'm not coming to, every dot, every cross T, every dotted I, is probably how he'd say it in English, is important. As a matter of fact, I come to fulfill the law. Okay? What does that mean? The Greek word, which I got my notes, but I want to mess up my phone. I got locked out of church today, so I took notes on my phone over the mission house. It's a long story. But, let's see if I can do this. Hi, folks yes, Terinda said it was impossible to keep the law because nobody's good enough. The Greek word for fulfill, let's see if I can find it on my notes and get back to, is plerasai, which means to fulfill or to even transcend the law. What do you think Jesus meant when he said, I come to fulfill the law? I'm not throwing out the law. I'm not saying it's unimportant. Don't go throw out your Old Testament. Don't go trash Leviticus. Don't think I'm a rule breaker. I love the law. I came to fulfill the law. What does he mean when he says that? I came to fulfill every prophecy there ever was. I'm going to make them come true. I'm going to perfectly show you how it's done. I'm going to demonstrate it. I'm going to live it. I'm going to live up to it. Yeah, some days I'm going to heal people on the Sabbath. Why? Because I'm going to show you, I'm going to fulfill the law. The law was never meant to play some games with God to where you can manipulate him. See, we've done everything, God. Now you come in here and bless us. That's not the purpose of the law. No, I don't come here. The law is important. And I will fulfill it because the law tells us how we're to live as people. And if somebody breaks their arm, we're going to heal it. You've got the whole, because there's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Let's go back to my classroom. They all kept the rules because I made them, but what was happening? I was failing in the classroom, which is what the rules were there for. What's the purpose of keeping the rules if you end up losing everything that the rules were there for? Can you see that's what Jesus is saying? What's the purpose of the law if we're not helping people when their arm breaks? Because the law, he says, sometimes people ask me, I'm talking in terms of Jesus now, what's the most important thing in the law? They had thousands of laws. What did Jesus say? He says, let me sum up the law in 2 words. You love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and you love your neighbor as yourself. The 10 Commandments are kind of modeled after that. That's what the law is for, to help keep us organized as a society so we can freely love and cherish God. Yea, we love God and God blesses us, and then we go forth and to love our neighbors as ourselves and to spread the kingdom of God and that was the whole plan from the Old Testament. I'm not here to do away with the Old Testament. That was the whole purpose. That was the whole reason for the law. And I'm going to perfect that and show that and demonstrate that. I'm not here to throw it out. I'm certainly not here to say that. I'm certainly not here to lower standards. Forget the law. Anybody can be saved. No. You can't live up to the law, and that's why you can't be saved. The standard is that high. It's so high only I can meet it. But I'm not going to change the standard. I'm not going to uphold the standard. If we lower the standard of the law, then why did Jesus die on the cross? Does that make sense? I mean, the law demands something for our sin. Jesus says, how about me? I'm perfecting the law. I'm living up to the law. So I'm not lowering standards. I'm not bringing in chaos. I'm not saying what God said to Abraham is unimportant. I'm not saying what God said in the Old Testament is irrelevant. I'm perfecting all of those things. Because the bottom line is, if you haven't figured it out yet, Jesus is saying, you can't keep the law by yourself. If you want to play the Pharisees game, you'll be playing it for the rest of your life. Not only will you find yourself further from God, not only will you find yourself further from your little earthly kingdoms, but you're going to find yourself way out of the heavenly kingdom. Okay? Because your righteousness has to be greater than the Pharisees. There's a lot of ways to take that verse. I was taught, hey, well, the Pharisees followed every law. It wasn't enough, so you can't follow every law either. So you must be better than the Pharisees. You must, it's impossible to be better than the Pharisees. Personally, I think the Pharisees kind of set a pretty low bar. Okay, the reason why you have to be better than the Pharisees is because they felt like they were keeping every law. And what kind of person did that make them? Regimented? They didn't have a heart for people. Conceited. Have you heard this word? Self-righteous. Yeah, is that a temptation for us too? To, turn Christianity into, well, here are the rules that we need to keep so we can say how good we're doing. Because we're going to try to prove ourselves worthy to God. And that's where I think we need to look at those two sides again. Now, I'm not going to stand here before anybody and say, don't worry about the rules, because you need rules. You need holiness, and you need to be holy as he is holy. But on the other side of the coin, we can't turn rules into something that just serve themselves and therefore exalt us to where we what? Tell the world, well, you're not following our rules. What's wrong with you? Or you can't come here if you're not going to follow. We suddenly become the rule keepers for the sake of keeping rules, rather than we follow the rules because we want to love God and love other people. And so Jesus says, I'm not throwing out the law, but I perfect it. I show you, I demonstrate how it's done. And really the main purpose of the law is to show you cannot do it on your own. You need me. That's how I fulfill it. That's how I make it come to life. Okay? And now that I'm here, so every little dot, every little thing, it's important. But not to where we worship the law, but to where we worship God. And that's what I'm here to do. That's why I'm going to sacrifice, because the law demands that there's sacrifice for sin. Okay, I'm going to live up to the very letter of the law more than what any of you can imagine. So don't call me don't think I don't know the law. Don't think I'm here to abolish the law. I'm going to fulfill it. What message do you think this has for the church? And I've kind of let some cat out of the bag there already. Because Jesus put this in there, I didn't. So obviously it's important. That's why I didn't skip it. What message does this have for the church? Okay, Beulah said you can't have so many rules that it chokes out people. We can't be like that. I would say it this way, because again, rules are important. And we have to teach the world there are some rules you should follow by. But why? Not because you keep rules, because it's what's best for you. We say don't go 70 miles. Don't go more than 75 miles down the expressway. Why? Just because that's a rule we need to keep? No, it's because it promotes safety. And if you disagree with that, it promotes your freedom. Because if you say, well, forget that, I want to go 90 miles down the expressway. You tell the policeman, well, I didn't think that rule was very good for me. Too bad, he's still going to give you a ticket. Now you have less freedom than before. So again, we're not going to throw the rules out, but we got to make sure we don't have so many rules that it chokes people. That we have so many rules that we're just following rules and people can't see what the rules are there for. Does that make sense? So, yeah. Yeah, love. Margie says, love people the way they are, so we can be open to teaching them. This is the way that God says to live, and here's why. Because it brings you freedom and it brings you what's best for you. It's not just because we want to keep a bunch of rules, see how great we are. It's because but when we can't do that until we meet people where they are. Why else do you think this is important? Because the Bible says so. Okay, yeah. It's pretty simple, says Lanny. Yeah, I think on one hand, remembering the law, even though I can't fulfill it totally on my own, I just don't give up and say, well, I'm just going to do whatever I want to then. I think that, as Christians, we can't be sloppy. There's a way that we need to live our life. That's the one end. And I think that's what Jesus is trying to say. I'm never going to throw that out. And we need to follow the one that best exhibits it. We need him. Because there's no way we're going to follow that on our own. But that's our mindset, right? But on the other side of the coin, we can't use that as a way to choke out or exclude others. So so it's just that's what the fulfillment of the law means. It shows its importance, it shows its purpose, and it shows how it's perfected in Jesus. And then he's going to start teaching some practical things. Because if you think about it, loving your enemies, how you deal with murder, I mean, they had their own little laws, right? Well, and we do the same thing in our country. Well, I've never killed anybody. Well, look at me, I've never been an adulterer. Yeah, but if you looked at somebody else with lust, well, that's not so bad. So if anything, Jesus is what? He's raising the standards on the rules that some people would be so quick to throw out. So the rest of the Sermon on the Mount, he's going to kind of balance that out for us. So I just, whenever it shows that we only need him, it shows that he's not lowering the standards, and it certainly shows he's not throwing out half of our Bible. It's re-putting it in the purpose where it fits. Does that make sense? Okay, we got a lot of history and a lot of things there. That's a difficult thing, but I think we'll miss it if we just kind of skip over that and then go right to verse 21. Hey, let's not murder. Hey, let's not be divorced. Let's not be adulterers. Let's not, it's just a bunch of rules. No. Jesus is going to show us why we have these and why we perfect these and why we'll need his help to follow him. So he's just kind of setting everything up in the weeks where we want to go. Any other thoughts or comments there? So I think that's our choice. Do we live by self-righteousness? Jesus says you have to be better than that. We have to surpass self-righteousness. Very good, Margie. What surpasses self-righteousness? What is it that we strive for? Humility, holiness. Yeah, without the salvation, and we need the blood and Jesus. One website that I read says, you know what surpasses self-righteousness? Obedience. Obedience. God, we're not the ones in charge here. You are. And he sends his Holy Spirit to help us and to lead us. Do all those very things that the rules are there for. So the rules, they're the means to the end. They're not the end themselves. And we can't pervert it to means to a totally different end. And so, just some things to think about. I'm going to stop there. I hope rules there for guidelines?
And I was just thinking, Fred gave 7 altar calls.
Yeah.
But what if there would have been a rule in the church?
We're only going to do 2 rules. Sometimes the Spirit needs you to step out. Yeah. Rick took us back to our original story. Fred did 7 altar calls. What if the pastor had a rule that says we're only going to do 2 because of time? Because that's just what we do around here. Well, who's in charge, us or the Spirit? Yeah. So strive for holiness, and it's not something we can do on our own. We need Jesus. And the purpose of holiness is not to say how great we are. It's always to say how great God is and to be about his business. I think that ties it up nicely tonight, so I'll stop there. Okay. All right. All right. So so those of you online, I got to go back there. Oh, by the way, as I was studying at the mission house, I have to give it up to the Refuge Church in Ogden, Utah. They had a nice little thing here that helped me a lot to kind of understand that. And it says this chapter does away with 3 myths. The myth number 1, that Jesus came to get rid of the Old Testament. No, he hasn't. Myth number 2, that standards of salvation have been lowered. No, they're not. And then number 3, that law keeping is only for Pharisees. No, I think we've kind of dispelled all those myths in our discussion tonight. So I was hopelessly confused until I found that website. So if anybody from Ogden, Utah, and the Refuge Church sees this, thank you for your website and their Bible study. And if not, just any wisdom from that is not just taken from myself. It's from their website as well. So back to Facebook. Trenda says amen. All right. So Trenda, we hope you're safe. She says I was wrong. It's 8 hours. Will Clark has been with us tonight. Good evening, Will. I don't think we said hi to you. And I don't see any prayer requests. Donna Gibson says a little bit of arthritis flare up tonight, so we need to be praying for her. Donna, we love you and miss you. We'll be praying for you. So we will